Hello friends, I'm delighted to welcome you to this third video covering the response to queries on eCAAT to be used as a data analytics tool. In the first two videos, we covered the systematic approach to using eCAAT. We also walked through some of the queries and how to use specific functions. We know the primary reason for using eCAAT or any data analytics software is that you should be able to do more in less time. You should be able to audit 100% of the data much more effectively and provide value addition through your audit. In any usage of data analytics, and specifically when you're using eCAAT, it's important to know what are the business processes, understand the regulatory requirements, understand the organizational structure and the technology deployed so that you can get the relevant data, run the relevant tests as required as per the scope and objectives of the assignment. You need to remember that data analytics is a tool. A tool is useful only when you have understanding of the domain. So when using eCAAT, which is an add-in tool to Excel, it's important that you get the data ready in the format which is required for doing data analytics. You make a copy of the files and then perform the analysis on a copy of the files. You perform harmonize sheet because you need data in a structured format with the first row as the header and all the rows organized in a proper manner. And you also want to ensure that there are no repetition of column names, there are no blank rows and blank columns. You document the field description, each of the fields, understand the business process rules and the controls related to that so that you can formulate appropriate tests and test this. You delete the file fields which are not required so that the data processing using eCAAT becomes much more faster and your focus on the data results is much more easier. You also review the field formats and change it to the required format. For example, it's a date, you need to be sure that all the data is in the date format, then only you can get the right results. You also want to ensure that numeric data has the numeric format so that you can perform all the related functions. And eCAAT is primarily a tool for drawing inference from information. The auditor with the business domain expertise is the one who can actually infer insights. eCAAT can only perform the functions. So eCAAT is all about inferring insights from information. So as I said, eCAAT is a data analytics tool. It is audit ka sarthi. It can guide the auditor in doing the audit. And it's a tool which can be used during the audit. It also becomes a documentation tool after the audit is over. With this basic understanding, let's go to the queries and also perform some specific functions. This is the query we have. Now we have this option where we can append files. Now the query is, can we append unmatched columns? Now this is a function which we added recently. Let me take you to the sample data and we'll perform this function. I've got three files here: expenditure April, expenditure May, and expenditure June. Now let me come back to expenditure April. Now I go to eCAAT, go to function relate, and then say append files. Now if you see here, there are two options, match columns and unmatched columns. I click on match columns. eCAAT does an analysis of all the worksheets which are available with specific columns which match this particular worksheet, and it has identified that you've got expenditure May and expenditure June which are of a similar column. I select the files and then I'll say OK. Now you find presto, the data is already appended. Now you got, it's also added one new column called worksheet name. Expenditure April, expenditure May is highlighted, expenditure June. Now this is how you append files which have matched columns. Now let's pick up one file which has got unmatched columns. This is a new feature we added based on suggestions from our client. We've got employee number. If you see here, the date we have got here, department and employee ID. If you look at the second data, here you got department and PAN, which means the PAN is a new column here, and in employee number you got employee ID, which is a new number. Although the number of columns are same, but the data is different. The column headers and data is different. Now the question is, can we match this unmatched columns, and how will the result come when I join or append these files? Let me append these files. I go to Append Files, Unmatched Columns. Now it tells me, it doesn't tell me anything. I have to go and select the file. I'm already in employees November. I have to select employees December because that is the file I want to join. Let's see where we have employees December. This is employees November. Let's see, where do we have employees December? Yes, we have got employees December here. Yes. Now if you see here, it identified the unmatched columns, employee name and PAN. This is the primary, this is the secondary. It also gives you multiple options. Matching column names on both. Primary file with matching columns to secondary. Secondary files with matching columns on primary. It has got multiple columns. You can try it out. For the purpose of, in the interest of time, I'm going to just select one. All columns are both primary and secondary, and I want the results in the existing workbook. I can select all, and I can also get the results in the new workbook. I'll say OK. Now if we find what happens. Now if you see here, we've got employee number and we've got the department here. We've got the employee ID. It is also added another column called PAN, and wherever PAN is available, that PAN is also added. Now if you see here, in this case, this particular data is blank. Now this is how we can match files with unmatched columns and append them together. Let's go to the next query. Related to this, there is one three-way match. Let me show three-way match also, because this is related. Now in three-way match, let me pick up a data which is expense April, expense May and expense June. Now this also I can append. We already seen this. Now what I would like to now do is, I would like to show you a new function which is not asked. I would like to consolidate. Now you find consolidate is there in Excel also, but consolidate is a little different and much more simpler while you use eCAAT. Expense April, it's already identified the columns which are matching. I select all the three files and I say I want expenditure April consolidated field based on the head. Okay, which means this is a group, and then I say summarize on expenditure, and then I said OK. Now see, this will do the consolidation for each of the head. Now I've got the total count, I've also got the total sum. This is how you can perform the consolidate. And you can consolidate any number of files. For example, if you got payroll file for 12 months, you can consolidate. You can also append files also. Now let's say we are coming back to our expenditure April. Now we would like to do a three-way matching, which is a related function, which I thought of showing it to you. This is a new function which has been added. Relate three-way matching. What happens in three-way matching is, it also gives me a message that this function can be performed if only the second third file has unique or distinct values. Okay, I selected expenditure April. Now I select expenditure May, and then I select expenditure June. These are the three files. Now I want to match it based on the head. I select each in each of this and I say equals. Yes, now it's added. Okay, it looks like I've added 2-3 times. Let me remove this. So it seems like it's doing something in the background. Let's cancel this and perform this again. Okay, what we'd like to do is perform a relate three-way matching. I have selected expenditure April. I select expenditure May. Then I select expenditure June. Now I would like to select head because I would like to match this based on the head, and I say equals. It is added now. Now you see there are different options: match records from all sheets, unmatch records from all sheets, records in final sheet. Like that, we've got multiple options. Now I'd like to pick up this, a new option we added: record in third sheet not available in other sheets. Okay, we can also do all records on first sheet, all records from all the sheets. Let us pick up these two options, and I say OK. There is an instance here. There is an issue with this. Okay, let's perform this again. There seems to be some issue here. I'm going to join expenditure May, expenditure June, and I'm connecting based on head, and I say equals, and I'll just pick up one option here. Let's say all records from all sheets, and I say OK. Now you find here the results. So it has got, for all the sheets, for all the months, it has been added. Okay, this is how it means. This gives you only the match records. Okay, so this is how you can perform three-way matching using different options. There is one bug in one of the functions. We'll resolve it in the next release. Okay, so I said you can look at match records from all the sheets. Now what I did was all records from all the sheets. This is similar to append. You can do the match records from all the sheets. Let me do this again and check whether we can perform this. Expenditure May, then I got expenditure June, head. I select the head here, which is the unique field which is there in all the three. I say equals. It's added. I would like to pick up match records from all the sheets. I say OK. Let's see how the result comes. Now the result is being computed. So ideally what would happen is, let's see here, there are totally 29 records which are matched. And now if you see here, it gives you the primary, the secondary, and for each of the head of accounts, it tells you which are the matching fields. And that's the beauty of this particular function, that for each of the functions which are matched, it gives you the matching records from all the three. Okay, now let's come back to our query and see what do we have. Rate variations in PO. Please confirm if possible to obtain all rate variation in net price of individual material code during certain audit period. Okay, let's see how it can be done. It can be done using the relative size factor. I would like to go to a file called procurement, where I have related data, sample data. I got the procurement file. Now in the procurement file, I have these fields. Now let's look at the fields so that we can understand what is the data available. I have got the PO date, PO number, vendor code, vendor name. I got the material code, quantity, unit price, amount. Now if you see, we got multiple vendors and we got multiple material items. What I would like to find out is, for each of the material code, what are the variation in the rate? So let's use two formulas for this. First, I would like to use a function called relative size factor. This is a very powerful function, but can be used in a very, very simple way. So first, I have to select the material code, and then what are the variants I want to find based on the unit price. That's all. I click OK. Now I get for each of the items here, let's see where we have got the result here. Let's go to the background. Yes, we got the result here. Now if you see, for each of the material code, it gives me the count. It gives me the first maximum, the second maximum, it also gives me the relative variance. In the case of relative size factor, we are finding out the difference between the first highest, that is the maximum, and the second highest, the relative variance between the two, and the relative size factor. Which means same material, I bought it at 167 and the second highest I got it at 17, which shows that there's a big variation. Okay. Now this is for the first highest and the second highest. The same function I can also perform based on the maximum variance factor. So in this case we are going to pick up the maximum and the minimum. So first I select the material code and then I select the unit price. Now I would like to know whether I have purchased the price same material from different vendors. I can also group by based on the vendor, based on the vendor name. When I do based on the vendor name, I'll also be able to get from each of the vendors we got. So as of now, I'm not looking at the vendor name. What I would like to do is I'm not bothered about from which vendor I bought. I want to find out the price variance for these items. So I select the material code. Then I come here and select the unit price. That's all I have to select. And I want the result in descending order. And I say OK. Let's see whether the result has come. The result has come. Okay. Here if you see the material code D910404, it has been bought 88 times. The maximum price was 1106 and the minimum price is 16, which means there is an error or there is a fraud. So you find the variance 68 times is the variance. I would like to look at the details. I can double click and I can get the complete details of the purchase made for this particular material code. This is a very, very powerful function, but it's a very simple function. We also have one more function which I thought I'll show you, which is called as multiple join. I'll not be able to demonstrate, but I'll just explain to you the key features of this function. Let's say I have got this function here, multiple join. I go to relate. I go to multiple join. This is similar to join. Now I can join two files. Okay, so I can also join columns which don't have the similar name. So I can use matched or unmatched. So I can select and match these columns. I can also select what are the fields I want to be displayed. I can also join based on three files, or I can also join here, like you see, similar to three files. I can also join three files, or I can also join based on more than three files. Okay, now in the case of more than three files, it checks whether there are files similar and tells you that you need to have files which are matching, which are similar. In this case, only one, so you cannot do this function. So this is how you can use the multiple join. Maybe I'll cover this in detail in another video later. Let's come back to the query and see what our friends had to ask. Okay, rate variation we shown. You can also do classify based on the material code and group on the rate to get the same details. Like I told you, you can get multiple ways the same result. Now we had Benford law, which is an important thing. Earlier we did not have a drill down in this function. Now we added drill down also. Let me show you the function. I come to the sample data. I go to the sales trends. I go to statistics, Benford law. Benford law works only on numeric values and it has to be data which is random in nature. I cannot do it on a sequential invoice number. It doesn't give any meaning. Okay, I just have to say generate. So it generates the Benford law. So Benford law tells you for each number from digit 1 to 9, what should be the population. Let's see, we're still waiting for the result. We should be able to get the result where we get the information. Yes, we got the result. Okay. So now it tells me for each of the items, what is the number of items. Now earlier we did not have the currents. You double click, you can actually get the details of what are the number of items which are there in the Benford law. Now let's come back to one more function. which was the query asked. You see the Bedford law. Three-way match, I've already shown you how you can do the three match. Now, these are some questions which were asked. Can near function be modified for negative values? We'll look at it in the next release. Highlight function also, there's another function which was asked. Let me show you some more important functions. We also given you the steps of performing the data analysis. I would like to show you some more functions, and one of the functions was pertaining to the backdated entries which we had added recently. Let me see whether we have the relevant file for this. Backdate entries is a new function which has been added. So let me open that file. Okay, I got this test for backdated entries. I just want to give an idea how we develop these functions. So we developed various types of test cases that decide how this function is going to be developed. Okay, now if you see here, backdate test 1. So we got the invoice number, invoice date, and the amount. Okay, we have another situation where we identify what are the backdate entries. We also identify the duplicates. The third type where you also have the duplicates and the backdate entries. Now this is, if you see, the invoice number is character. Next we have one more option where you have the invoice number. You also have the backdate entries and the duplicates. And the fifth option where you also have backdated entries with duplicates, and you also have gaps. Okay. Now let me do one thing. I'll just pick up this particular case where I have this. Now I would like to perform the backdate entry on this. I'm just picking the sample data because backdate entry takes a little time. So I go to eCAAT. Now we have added this in templates, backdated entries. If you've got a large volume of data, let's say more than 3000, I suggest you work on this function because it may take 3 to 5 minutes. It's already selected the file. I can do based on the original sorted order, which means it's already sorted. I'm going to do on the original. I select the invoice number, and then I select the secondary field, which is the invoice date, and I say I want the backdated entries. Okay, I can also get this duplicates also. I can get the gaps also, and I can add the comments for this. When I say gaps, I want the gaps based on the invoice numbers. Okay, I can also add the comments, or I can extract the results separately. I say okay. Now if you see, it has added the results, backdated entries. Although it gave a wrong message, it's also identified the duplicate and added here. Okay, let me show you what I had performed in the client data. Now this is the data. On this I ran the backdated gap analysis, and this is the cases where we got the gaps. We also had the backdated entries here where we got the backdated entries and the duplicates. Okay, so this took about there are about 7,000 records. This takes about 5 to 6 minutes because it has to run through this loop of invoice number and the invoice date, and based on each of the loops it has to compute. So this function takes a little time. So we are also planning in the next release that functions which take time can be done in the background. Now let's show you another two functions before we close. What we'd like to do is, let's come back to our sample data. What we'd like to do is, I'd like to have computation based on the date. I'll come to the sales transaction file. Here, not sales transaction, I'd like to pick up aging on two fields. I've got aging on two fields. Now there are two fields. I would like to compute the difference between two fields. This is one of the queries which is asked. So there is a function stratify aging. Now if you look at the stratify, we also had the stratify aging. Now here we have got this for the new fields. When there are two fields, stratify aging. Now what is the difference I want to compute? I want the receipt date. Okay, this is for a single function. I can compute the analysis based on single date. I think we are already familiar with this. I would like to do the analysis based on two fields. Stratify based on two fields. So it means in this function, it actually computes the difference between two given dates. I would like to find the difference between the sale date and the receipt date. Now you see here, it dynamically computes for the records and tells you the minimum entry is 25, the maximum entry is 199, and says the increment you can take 17. I would like to change, let's say, to 20, and I say fill, and I say OK. Now you see, you should be able to get results where it tell you for each type of the data difference, what are the number of records. Okay, finally we got the result here. You see between between the first data 25 to 44, there are 3094 and it gives me the percentage. Again 45 to 64, what are the number of records. So this is how we can actually find the difference. Not only the difference, you can also find out this data in terms of the date differences. We also have, I think you are already familiar with this, where we have for single field you can compute the stratification. Let me just quickly show this. Strata, I go to aging. Now I have to do aging based on this one. It finds out that the minimum date is 1/4/2016, maximum date is 31/3. So it means we are already getting the strata. It says max interval is 30. Let's say I make it as 40 and I say fill and I say okay. I want the aging summary. I say okay. Now this gives me the details of stratification based on aging for this particular data. So now if you see between 0 to 40, what are the number of records and what are the total sum of value. Okay, this is how you can get the summation. Same way you can also get the details. Okay, so with this I think I've covered most of the functions. Let's see if you got any other queries. I think we have covered most of the queries which have come. Okay. In future, if there are any further queries, we'll make further videos. Now, I'm also planning to make further videos where we'll have for each of the, if you look at the eCAAT, we'll also have functions based on the panel. Now, if you look at the panel, we'll have videos specifically covering each of the menu options, the curate function, profile. In profile, we have the data. We'll have videos covering each of the functions with specific practical examples. Okay, so I hope this video has clarified all the key points you wanted to cover. Remember, data analytics can be the audit ka saathi. It is audit ke saath bhi or audit ke baad bhi. So thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you in the future videos. Please write with any specific query you have and we'll be glad to answer and make a video for that. Thank you very much. Bye.